Hello and a very warm welcome to Bharata First. You're watching Frank Talk with me, Frank Rausen Pereira. Since you're here, please like the video, subscribe, hit the bell icon, and share the content as well so that more people get to know about Bharata First. Well, the vibrant Gujarat 2022 attracted an ultra high-tech project, which is going to be the first quantum computing technology park of India, just 3 months after China announced constructing its first quantum computing industrial park at Hefei, which is the capital city of East China's Anhui province. Recently, research firm Innogress announced its intent to set up Greater Karnavati Quantum Computing Technology Park, or GKQCTP, a first of its kind multi-party SPV in quantum computing technology space in India at Gandhinagar, the capital city of Gujarat. Dr. Ajay Dua, former Secretary, Ministry of Commerce and Industry, Government of India, will mentor this project. In this edition of Frank Talk, it is a pleasure to welcome Dr. Ajay Dua to talk about India's first quantum computing technology park. Mr. Dua, welcome, and it's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you, Frank.
So let's talk about this quantum computing technology park for which you are the mentor. And, this particular space is a new and emerging space, but we are still a little late compared to some of the other countries around the world because a lot of nations are investing and researching heavily in the quantum space, be it quantum science, quantum physics, and quantum computing. So it is good to have a technology park like this.
I would totally share your assessment that we might be latecomers to this technology, but as they say, better late than never. Having said that, I think it's a lot of our people in the various countries of the West who are a part of this process of developing quantum computing. After all, quantum computing, Frank, to a non-technical mind like mine, I might be involved with the technology, high technology product. It is basically application of quantum physics to computing in order to make it much faster, much more efficient than it is today. And the efficiency, as you know, in computing is one measured by how quickly are you able to execute a function. Second, how much of data can you compress, how much of data you can deal with. And of course, with that goes, where do you store it, how quickly you store it, how quickly you access it. So all these are parts of quantum computing as far as I understand. And the idea is that as a country with 1.4 billion people, we have been fairly quick in our move to the digital world, whether it's adoption of smartphones or anything else. Our ability to switch to computing, our ability to make use of the facilities or the outcomes of our latest technology are huge, and our requirement is huge as well.
Absolutely. The requirement is huge and the demand is huge as well. But, before I get to that, Mr. Dua, let's also talk about your experience in the past dealing with semiconductors. You might not be a technical man, but you have some experience dealing with this sector and dealing with these aspects. So it's not something new for you. So what is it that you bring to the table in terms of, all the past experience that you carry along with you?
Frank, I bring my gray hair to the table.
As modest as ever, Dr. Dua, but then you have a lot of experience with regards to the semiconductor policy, the formulating the first one, and many of those other aspects.
Frank, as they say, once you turn 70, then there is a time for you to give to your people, give to the society what they have given you during your earlier years. I have now gone into that phase of my life, crossed the hump, as they say, and I'd like to do what best I can do, what I've learned over the years, whatever little experience I have, to be able to put it before for a larger usage beyond me, beyond my family, to the society at large. And that's what has interested me. I've been involved for some time in a very kind of contemplative manner still on working on advanced technologies application center in India. All the advanced technologies of the world, we keep on talking about it, whether it's AI, whether it is robotics based on it, whether it's now blockchain, cloud computing earlier, now quantum computing. All these things have to be made relevant for us to our own needs. And that's what I'd like to explore. I hope to learn as I associate with people who are doing this kind of work and see whether its applications of the science, of the technology can be made more relevant to India, more relevant to the developing world. And when I say this, I have two things in mind. One, I saw in semiconductors, the whole world actually at the mercy of the half a dozen semiconductor makers, manufacturers in the world. The largest, the strongest economies of the world, since they only indulge themselves in R&D, not in application, not in making semiconductors. The United States, for instance, finds itself today at the mercy of East Asian countries who dominate. I'm not naming any particular country, 4 or 5 in East Asia, who are the largest manufacturers of semiconductors. All this R&D was done in the US. But when it came to production, the US had become heavily dependent upon them. So the vulnerability of the technology is as important as developing a technology. So whether as when we started by you saying that the technology is probably coming late to India, fine. It has reached a certain level of sophistication in the Western world, but now making sure that it works for one, affordability of developing the world. It works to look at the issues which are confronting them, and then issues are the most important issue of the world before the whole time. That's climate change.
Just carrying on the point that you just made, yes, it's better late than never. And it's good that we are getting into spaces that we've been reluctant to do so in the past. But especially when we speak of advanced technologies, that's something else that you raised, Mr. Dua. It always seems like we are playing catch up. So can't we look, maybe 10 years into the future and try and come up and work on technologies that are even more advanced than what we are looking at right now?
Certainly. But Frank, I can tell you one thing. Developing a new technology requires a whole lot of resources, whole lot of effort. Whether we are in a position financially, considering our other priorities, we'll always have to weigh in. We'll have to weigh in on those. As they say, modern pharmaceuticals, the maximum amount of money goes in development of the product, research of the product. That is where the countries which discover the molecules may or may not be discovered. Molecule gets discovered rarely, but it's the applications. So even for the applications, molecule is the same. You've not changed the particular ingredient, but its application, its dosage, its combination with other molecules, existing ones, is what the science does. So we are probably capable of the second level, but not in a discovery of, say, new molecule, new cells. Those kind of things are basic research. The rest, I would call it as applied. That's why I use the word that I've been concerned, saying, should we not be working on application of advanced technologies to our needs, our current requirement, our future requirements? You know, when I say this, Frank, I have this in mind. It's not I'm not taking a so-called view larger than I can bite. For instance, water. For how long can we deprive our own people of water, something which 9/10 of the world's planet is water? Yet, it is a developing world, it is a country like India who have plenty of water, but it is not potable water. So, can modern technology be applied to it? Can modern technology be applied to meeting the requirements of food and nutrition? India, we are producing enough food, but not nutritious enough. Effect of it, even the government's official surveys indicate. Is it that have we gone in for too much of processed foods? And the processed foods by themselves are not nutritious. Processed foods instead add to the problems of affluent, consume too much of water, and are causing problems of gas, greenhouse gas emissions, etc. So this is where I am saying that the modern science application to what are day-to-day requirements and what are the urgent future requirements have to be looked at. And I look at all these advanced technologies' purpose, not by just putting a man in the space, not sending a mission to the Mars. Yes, they are going to be useful in very far off. But right now, we have enough problems on the ground on which we need to make all these technologies of the world relevant and applicable.
So then, if I could just sum that up, so we need to focus on the present and try and sort out the issues that we have, that we are dealing with right now, rather than look too much into the future, and maybe do things that we are best at and ensure that we can put our best foot forward.
Absolutely. We have a manpower, skilled manpower, which goes and proves itself, scientific bent of mind. We go and prove ourselves when we are given the facilities to do research, when we are given the opportunity to learn things. I have in mind saying, why can't all this talent be used to apply itself to the requirements of the society? And take it from me, Frank, I'm an optimistic person. All our people who've gone abroad and excelled outside, if they have opportunities to continue to work and contribute to the society, they will happily do it. All these greenbacks don't matter much. And, I have children overseas. I keep meeting them, travel and other place otherwise, or whenever they come on vacations. It is not a life outside which they envy. It is a life back home where they get disappointed or where they find it's not yet fit enough for them to make a contribution to the society in a meaningful manner, which kind of comes in their way. So if we are able to create an environment where you can see the results, your efforts get recognized, and at the same time, you have a good standard of living, why would somebody want to be an unknown person, be it in the Silicon Valley or be it, working in the NASA's laboratories or in Seattle working on aerospace?
Taking this particular aspect forward, Mr. Dua, So does the quantum science technology, quantum computing technology park, kind of provide that kind of an atmosphere? Can we do it there and ensure that our people stay back? Because if you look at the quantum space as well, India has joined the party late, but most of the leaders in this space are people of Indian origin.
Absolutely.
So, there's that aspect as well.
Frank, to me, coming with my organizational experience of promoting industrial estates, I think since 75, in the year 1975, I first got involved in Maharashtra's industrial, estates and industrial parks, etc. And then over the years, 25 and 20 now, 45 years, I've seen some, whether in the government or outside it. The fact is, we are in this project, which I've associated with now as a mentor of the promoters. We put the cards on the table to the Gujarat government, saying what we're looking for is the best possible incentives for promoting an industrial park. And when they wanted to know what it is, we said the basic elements of one, land, second, the utilities, which, all that comes with it. The rest of it, we will take care. And then we don't want really a daily compliance report to be given to anybody. It is not going to give you a result on a day-to-day basis. It is well-meaning people who will bring in their money, domestic, overseas, but it's the satisfaction of doing the application work in India with the sciences, technologies developed outside, which would, we think, attract the best talent from outside. So the advisory board and others being thought of in this are of people who would like to see their own country beckon them, their own country give them the facilities to recognize their work, and then give them the satisfaction which they probably don't get by earning all the greenbacks which they do. But the credit, ultimate product is made by someone else, and they only remain a cog in the wheel.
Absolutely. So, Mr. Dua, what are some of the challenges that you foresee when you think of a project like this? Is it still the same set of problems like you mentioned, land and the basic utilities and everything else that is associated with it?
To start with, yes. Thereafter would come the issue. In the first stage is always that. The second stage, when the work starts, everybody is going to be looking at a supportive infrastructure of services and ancillary industries. Because you don't want to be manufacturing what is otherwise available easily outside the ecosystem. Outside, say, the industrial park, let me not say, but it has to be available in the ecosystem. So that you are not spending time in repeating what has already been developed. It might be within the country, it might be overseas. So the facilities for procuring, importing those items into India without having to go through the rigmarole of classifications and talking about what is the duty structure for it, etc., we would need to work out with all the authorities concerned that seamless imports, we're not going to be selling those products here if we haven't paid a duty on an import. But if it is purely for research and development purposes, we would happily, we would want supportive environment for technology. All that we're going to be doing is technology development.
Absolutely. Technology development is what you're going to be doing. It's great, and it's good that you're going to be focusing on that. Since we are here, Mr. Dua, what are some of the opportunities really?
Opportunities at the end of the day is when the applications take place. Applications to day-to-day requirements. The first utility is going to be its utilitarian value of the application. Right, so that it is something useful which you can apply, make products available, services available, which were not there earlier. Second, by mass production and otherwise, we would be able to make these products affordable for the users of the country. Third would be the employment. And the biggest asset for us is our people. Capital would invariably in a country deficit with capital, we would have that issue. So the attempt is going to be to make these technologies work in an environment which makes use of the talent or the advantage India has, the manpower.
Talking about manpower, Mr. Dua, this kind of a technology park, when you're looking at quantum computing, it is only going to attract a certain section of society, those who are trained and skilled in this particular aspect. But if you look at employment as a whole, it's a massive problem in our country today, and the pandemic has only made things worse. And even before the pandemic, unemployment was, at record highs. So we're not going to address that entire aspect of employment.
Frank, you're absolutely right on that. It is a section of the society. And we have in mind, of course, the software development, which will follow when the products or services are being churned out of these parks using this technology. Those would use fair amount of digital people familiar with coding, familiar with programming, and software developers. But I'm looking forward to its application in the wider field of manufacturing. That whole lot of products where this is an input, those will start getting manufactured. Today, for instance, let's look at it this way. What all got held up when the semiconductors are not available? 92% of the semiconductors coming from East Asia. 4 countries, Taiwan, China, South Korea, and partly, I would say, Japan. Japan is much more into the machines which go into semiconductor making. Korea is making appliances, etc. 17 to 18% of the total. The rest of the share is between Taiwan and mainland China. Today, the Chinese, realizing that geopolitical situation of the world in that part, you know what they did, Frank? About 3 weeks ago, the 3 foundries which produced the basic silicon on which all the semiconductors are built. Cyber attacks on these 3 biggest foundries of the world. They've gone out of production. They said, what is this, United States? You are talking about creating a supply chain without us. United States for the last 6 months have been talking at the diplomatic fora. One of the items invariably is, would you join our supply chain, which is going to be minus China? And now China is saying, now you take your Taiwan with you, and will they be able to produce without the foundation being there? One of the biggest items for export of these 2 companies of Taiwan was manufacturing of basic chips, which were built in a foundry where the silica bases were produced. Those are no longer in production. Sitting in China said, this is our reply to your excluding us from the potential global supply chain. So point I'm just trying to make is what has happened consequently, India's making of cars, that's got held up. Our exports of smartphones is held up because all the smartphones use these because we don't have access to it. The prices have gone up. In the other side of the world, military hardware of the United States, production has been hit. Telecom. See, the US acted against Huawei 2 years ago. The Chinese have replied to it by now, saying, we are not giving you, during the pandemic, they cut off the supply of, they're hoarding it. They are producing the semiconductors, they're saying, let the world come to its knees. So I am saying the manufacturing of whole lot of goods has become dependent upon chips. One, technology is required which does not keep itself so dependent on chips. Second, you need to diversify into sources of procurement. And a third is, why do we not study the effect of current pattern of production? We've been, for last 200 years, ever since the Industrial Revolution came up, we have all become highly dependent upon iron ore and steel, iron and steel. And 1/6 of the world's pollution, or 1/6 of the world's carbon dioxide emission, is caused in steel and iron processing and steel production. How long are you going to now remain dependent upon steel? You know, the blast furnace, which was designed 200 years ago, continues to be in vogue. So those are the kind of things where modern technology has become relevant, where substitute for steel, which has all the characteristics, but does not emit the carbon dioxide and the other greenhouse gases which come with it. That's where the modern technology has to be made use of.
Absolutely, absolutely. And one final question before I let you go, Mr. Dua. So what is the future of quantum computing, especially in India, and what can we do going forward?
Optimistic. And when I said optimism, it is really combined with a degree of realism that today we do not have the ability to be able to use masses of data which are required, and we do not have either the hardware, or we have not even gone into software development required with it. Immediate benefit for us is when in this park, whether it is foreigners who come and develop it, I'm sure it's not going to be foreigners alone, it's going to be many large industries of India, or many industries which are, look at the future of that the world is going to be using far more data. So all of them should get involved, but the involvement is all dependent upon how much of facilities could this park be able to provide, particularly by way of common facilities and access to the broad ecosystem to be able to source all the supportive services and products. So that is conditional. If man-made barriers are put, and man-made includes governmental, man-made includes our attitudinal, saying, why are we giving preference to this particular park, not to conventional industrial park in terms of labor laws and other kind of things? Then people are going to say, thank you very much, we've come, we are going back. But if the attitude is one that how to make it productive, I think the future will remain, we would have to be seen, or should be seen, with a degree of optimism.
Absolutely. All right, Mr. Dua, we'll have to leave to that. Thank you so much for joining me on the program and sharing your views on this very interesting subject. And I wish you the very best as well as far as the project is concerned. A pleasure having you here.
Thank you so much, Frank. I enjoy discussing the matter with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And before I go, let me once again remind you to like the video, subscribe, hit the bell icon, and share the content as well so that more people get to know about Bharata first. Do subscribe to our newsletter as well to get some incisive information. And how can I not tell you about the Bharata First Knowledge Center? It is your one-stop destination for all your competitive exams needs. We now have 26 amazing courses all put together to help you in your competitive exams and also make you better Bharatiyas. Live classes for the second phase have begun. Do ensure that you register now and participate in the interactive sessions. Go to kc.bharatafirst.com for more details. You can also download our Bharata First app and ensure that you participate in all the free activities that we have there as well to improve your knowledge. Now, many candidates have cleared the UPSC and have thanked Bharata First and the Knowledge Center for playing a big part in their success. So don't be left behind. Don't regret later. Register now. All this information along with some must-see recommendations are in the description of the video. Please go through it. That's it from me. See you again next time.